I have already told you, but if you just create a view by joining more than one table, okay, you can do all type of operation provided, okay, there are some restriction. You have to follow that thing. We have already discussed all those things. Most important concept we have discussed, that is a key preserved tables. That means in addition to the rule which they are providing, that if you create the view in this way without considering this type of field and all those things, then you will be able to perform the DML operation. That means update, insert, and delete. But provided you can only do that operation in any of one of the table which is participating in the view, provided that particular table is pre-preserved table. And the concept I have already discussed. If you have any queries on that concept, we can just raise the question. I will try to answer those things. If you don't have, then let's start with the help of that particular view. How can I do perform different type of operation? Okay, like say suppose I have here, if you just see that thing, I have created a view by joining the department and your employee. And what is my joining condition? That department number should be this, and location should be Hyderabad, Bombay, and Delhi. So it will basically provide you all the employee information with that department name and location for Hyderabad, Bombay, Delhi. Okay, so this is my view. I will just explain several examples on the basis of that view. So you should understand that what is the meaning of that thing. Okay, actually there is the restriction are as follows. There are a lot of restriction you have to provide. Actually, you have to impose on that particular view so that it can be modifiable. That means with the help of this view, you can modify the underlying base table, set table. Okay. Actually, what are the restriction? There should not be any distinct operator. So if you just see in this select subquery, I have not used any distinct, no aggregate function, set operation. No, there is no such set operations like union all and all those things. There is no group by or having, and there is no start with or connection clause or row number pseudo column. If all those restriction is basically there in the view subquery, then you can use this particular view for modifying any one of the table which is participating this view, provided that table is a key preserved table. Mind it, key preserved table is must one of the criteria, major criteria. In addition to this restriction, if it follows that criteria, then only you will be able to do that thing. Let's see some example, then you will able to understand in which case you will be able to update and which case you will not. Okay, say suppose I just write a update statement here, update that earlier view, that is the view I have already created, set salary equal to salary into this for department number 10. That means for department number 10, I have basically increment the salary for all employees. And so naturally, it will just increase the only salary field, actually update the only salary field. And where is that salary field? That is in employee table. And as we have already discussed and see that the employee table is a pre-preserved table, so it will not give any problem. You can easily do that thing. Okay, but say suppose you write this update employee, this thing location is Bombay, where S name is Sammy. That means you want to change the Sammy's location to Bombay with the help of this view, because as the location field is already available in this thing, in this view, so you should be able to do that thing. But here the problem is that the department table is a non-key preserved table. So if you try to update that thing, then it will provide this type of error that this department table you cannot update as it is not a key preserved table. Okay. Similarly, if you just see that thing here, I try to update the department number. Okay, department number of Sammy, but still it will not allow you to do that thing because department number is taking part in the joining condition. Okay, so the field which is basically in the joining condition although the department number is in the employee table, this field is in employee table, other field is different name, so it is in pre-preserved table, but still, as this particular field is taking part in the joining condition, it will not allow you to do that thing. Okay, so naturally, you understand that these are the some of the additional thing which you should know. Actually, it is very difficult to remember all the condition. You did not do that thing. Only thing you try to understand all the main concept. And if you just by mistake you try to update or doing that thing, that time it will give the error. And from that error, you should try to understand why this error is coming, what's wrong you are doing. Okay, that is more than sufficient without actually no need to remember all the restriction and noise. And nobody can do that thing. Okay, so that is the reason I have provided lot of example and showing why it is failing, what type of error it is giving. Okay, you should be actually alert by seeing this error that we are doing this type of mistake. Okay, next you say deleting the view from the view. Okay, again that you can only delete only the table which is a key preserve record from the table which is a key preserved table. Okay, so like here delete this thing the Smith, it is no problem, it is the only mind it, there might be more than one table. Okay, if there is two table which is a key preserved table in the view, then you cannot perform the delete operation. Only if it is only one key preserved table in the view, then only that table row you can delete with the help of the delete operations. So here only one table, employee table is key preserved table, so naturally I can delete the record from the table using this view. In the following, delete operation cannot be performed on the view because actually now we just see that I have created another view by joining the employee. Okay, employee. Okay, but two tables. I am that means it is a self join basically. I am just joining two employee table. Both are employee table. Okay, now if you just create this type of view where both the table are key preserved table, then you will not able to delete the employee, even the employee record, because both the table is key preserved table. Okay, so be careful about this type of rule. Okay, at the same time, if the view is defined, use the with check option, and the key preserved table is repeated, then the record cannot be deleted from such a view. Okay, so like here I have seen showing you that same example self this. Here I have given the with check option. In this case also you will not able to delete that thing. Insert into join view. Say suppose how can I insert where there is joining view. Say like the insert statement of the department view succeeded because only one key preserved table is being modified. Here if you just see, I have using the same view. Okay, and in that actually employee department is my view name. So insert into employee department, ename this and department number, I have given the values. Okay, so just assume that the 40 is a valid department number. That means this department also exists in the department table, because while I have created the employee and department table, I have also established a foreign key relationship between the department on that two table. So naturally, I have already told you all the integrity constant which you are already available in the base table, that is also applicable in the view. So you cannot actually overrule this thing, or you cannot ignore that particular thing. So until and unless that validity is satisfied, you cannot enter any record. So I assume that 40 is a valid record, valid department. So if you write that in actually insert statement, it will add the employee, because employee is a key preserved table. But if you just see, I have written one statement like this where 77 is not a valid department, but I have supplied the 77. In that case, what will happen? It will give the foreign key integrity constant violation. Okay, you are not able to do that thing. Okay, now we just see that thing. At the same time, if I just write a insert statement, insert into this view, and I have given employee name this and lock. Locked is a field which is available in the department. Although in the view it is available, so but it is coming from the department. So naturally, when you try to insert this type of thing, that means at the same time you are trying to insert the employee as well as department. Okay, that is not allowed because two tables are affected. Okay, so this is not allowed. Okay, similarly, an insert cannot implicitly or explicitly refer to columns of a non-key preserved table. Okay, so at any point of time in the insert statement, you cannot refer any field which is in the non-key preserved table. If the join view is defined using the with check constant, if you provide a with check constant into the join view, then you cannot perform the insert tool. These are the some of the rule I have explained with the help of actually some examples so that you can understand the concept. Okay, but here actually most of the cases some other rules are very simple, that you should not have distinct, you should not average, all those things that you can remember. But most interesting concept which you have to understand, that is pre-preserved table. Which one is pre-preserved table, that you have to basically find out. Otherwise you will just get that error, and accordingly you have to resolve that error. Okay, now actually to if you really want to create the view, you need some additional permission. Okay, it does not mean that you have the permission on base table means that you will be able to create view and work on that view. Okay, what are the most major permission you need? That is a create view privilege. Okay, as soon as you created, if you really want to work with the view, like I have already told you that if you want to create the table or do some operation on the table, you need some privilege. Similarly, for create, you have to give it either create view privilege or create any view privilege, system privilege. Okay, and if you really want to operate on the base table, okay, any DML operation you want to do in the base table with the help of this view, then you should have that permission for insert, select, update, and delete permission for the base table also. Okay, and this type of table should be given directly to the user, not through role you can get. Okay, and similarly, if you have the create view permission, and if you really want to grant that view, grant that permission to other user, then that naturally, as I have declared, actually discussed earlier, otherwise grant option or admin option you have to provide. Okay, as it is a object in the database, you should also be able to drop that thing, and you can easily drop view and the view name. It will automatically drop that thing. So after creating the view, this is the operation. Anybody wants to talk?
Sir,
Uh,
drop view item কি ডিলিটের মতো?
কি বলো আরেকবার?
স্যার এই যে ড্রপ ভিউ এই যে আইটেম ওটা কি ডিলিট করারই মতো নাকি?
না, এটা হচ্ছে সে লাইক dropping a table, that means you are deleting the table. That means, what does it mean? Deleting the table means totally actually destroying the structure. Drop means destroying the structure. That means if there are some record inside the structure, that will also vanish. Okay, similarly you can just drop, if you just drop the view, what does it mean? Actually the view has no actual physical existence. There is no record behind it. It is not a real table. So as soon as you give the drop view, that means the structure will be destroyed. That means the definition which you have provided, that will be deleted. Okay, in the data dictionary it is preserving that definition. Okay, but there is no actual table behind it. Okay, so that definition will be deleted. In case of table, if you drop the table, it will drop the actually it will delete the record and dropping that particular structure also. Okay, but here there is no physical structure, it will not delete that thing. It cannot delete that thing. So but if you drop this thing, it will drop that definition which you have created. Okay, now you just see that thing. I have created a view, then how can you use this view? After using, see, actually when you are creating the view, this is your role as a developer. You are creating role this thing, and as I have discussed, this subquery can be a very complicated subquery, so the end user cannot do this thing. But who is the user of the view? Mainly the end user. Okay, now you just see that thing. If they knows the view's name, Okay, yeah, how quickly he can get this information? Just select star from view name. This is a very simple instruction he has to give. Okay, if you really want to filter and all other thing, then definitely he needs to know the filtering where clause and your column list and everything. But simple use is just select star from this view. Then automatically, as I have defined this 4, 5 field in the view with a sum where clause, automatically I will get that result set. Okay, I need not just write this complicated select clause, only just select star from this is more than sufficient here. Okay, similarly for aggregate also, okay, if you just write it some aggregate thing in the subquery, then it is automatically it is a aggregate function is there, group by is there. So that means it's all everything is violating the norms of updatable view. Okay, so naturally this view, as soon as you create, it does not mean that the average or group by clause you cannot use in the subquery. You can always do that thing. But only thing is that as soon as you just create this type of view, then naturally it will be actually automatically read-only. You cannot perform any update, insert, and all those operation. Although there might be one table which is employee table is a keep result table, but you cannot do because you are already violating lot of restriction in the view. Okay, so naturally you cannot do that thing. It is automatically read-only. Okay. Okay. So in this way, actually, most of the cases in the practical use, we see that the view is a very complicated select function with lot of group by, average, everything. Okay, so it's a very complicated one, and most of the use is that we use the view for accessing the data. That means the select one is a very common use for the view. Okay, generally we do not really prefer to actually insert record or delete record or update record using the view. Okay, because inserting, deleting, and this record is very clean and clear with the help of the table thing, table instruction. Okay, so unnecessarily why should I complicate that thing? But it is permitted, minded, if you just follow some restriction. Okay, actually I have already told you all these definition basically in the object is stored in the data dictionary. Similarly for the view also, if all the definition is storing some table, and okay, and in the data dictionary, and they provided database actually manufacturer, they provided a very useful view, what is called the user underscore views. Okay, if you really want to, if you just select the view name, that means you have created maybe 100 view and forget the name what you have created inside the database. If you really want to check all the view name, okay, you just give select view name from user view. Mind it, this is also a view created by the manufacturer, because you do not know what is the structure of the data dictionary table. It can be, you can easily know that thing and write your own select clause. That is not the issue at all. There is a facility of doing that thing, okay, because they have already published what are the different tables they are maintaining, what are the information of this table, everything is there. If you are really interested to do that thing, you can always do that thing. In addition to that thing, but mind it, in case of data dictionary, it is also a relational database, but for you, you are the end user. Okay, you are the end user. Who are the developer? They are basically the developer of the manufacturer. They are doing, they are maintaining all this table and all this other thing, and that is the reason those developer, they provided, they have created lot of view for you people, so that you can easily access the data dictionary. That is the reason, if you just see that the lot of views are available to access the data dictionary information. Okay, and it is well documented. If you really want to do anything, okay, on a particular, inquire about a particular object or a particular thing, then what you need to know, you have to consult the manual, you have to find out which one is the appropriate view, and you just try to select this appropriate view. Okay, then you will get all this information. Okay, so that is the technique we should use to get the information regarding the metadata which is stored into the database. Okay, so these are more or less about the view. Okay, but in that is, we sometimes we call it is a regular view, but commonly that was the only view available in the database area. But recently means for last 10-15 years, okay, there are another sorts of view is available. I will not now discuss briefly that concept and that thing. What that is called the materialized view. Okay, it is available in Oracle. It is also available in other database also. And what is the materialized view? If you really want to understand that thing, you have to understand what is the difference between this regular view. Then you understand why it is and why it is needed. Okay, regular view, you know that it evaluates the data in the table underlying the view definition at the time of view is queried. Okay, when you are writing the select clause, select star from view, that time basically it is evaluating that subquery. Okay, as I have already told you, that subquery needs to first convert it to the relational algebraic expression that we sometimes call creating the execution plan. That is done by the database, and then it is executed that particular plan to access the data. So that means that creating the execution plan is needed before executing that thing. Okay, in case of regular view, when you are trying to retrieve the data, that time both the things is happening. First it is converting, you can say that it is compilation phase, you can say, and then it is accessing that, both the phase. And you know that creating the execution plan is also taking some time. It's not that you are without any consuming any time, it will quickly do that thing. It takes time. So every time if you just basically run the thing, you are basically doing that thing, execution plan creation, and then doing this thing. And here the regular view, we have seen that data that is retrieved by the view is not stored anywhere. It is not really a table. Okay, it is not stored, it will just access and then it will just pass to the application. Okay, this is the data we have retrieved. Okay, and the upside of this view, what is the upside? They always return the latest data to you. And so when you are running, that time it is accessing the data from the table. That means if you assume the table is always up, actually when you are doing any operation, you are basically performing the update, insert or delete on table, base table. So naturally, at any point of time when you are basically running that particular view, you are getting always the latest data. That is the advantage. But what is the downside is that, as I have already told you, it is a performance is little bit slow because it always doing creating the execution plan and then running. Say 100 times if you actually run that particular view in that day, that means 100 times you have to do that particular thing, particular execution plan creation. So it is time consuming sometimes. And if there is non-indexed column is there in the view, it might take long time to run the view, actually complicated view, which has actually base table, if has millions of record, it will take more time. And that is the reason they have come up with a new concept that is called materialized view. What is that? It is like your regular view. That means like regular view, you have to create, there might be some additional syntax, okay, but only difference is that when it will retrieve the data, it will save that data into a particular table. Okay, inside the database, it will save it. That means sometimes we can say that it is a snapshot. At a particular time, if you run, say suppose now we have run that thing, okay, and then automatically it will retrieve the data up to that time, okay, which is available in the base table, and create that result set and preserve that result set for you. So next time if you run, it will not doing the execution plan and all those things because the data is already available in the view. It will just return that particular data. Okay. Now but the problem is that it is storing the data actually to boost up the performance. I do not want really at every time it should just perform the execution plan stage and then access the data. The data is already available, but what is the disadvantage? Disadvantage is that, say, suppose I have created the view, a result now. You are accessing the data after maybe half an hour. Okay, so you are getting the same data. That means the data is half an hour old. Okay, because within the half an hour, if any other system already updated the database, okay, the table, base table, you are not getting that. That data is not reflected here. Okay, so naturally there is a sync problem, sync issue. But some of the cases you will find that that is more than enough. Say, take an example. Say, suppose online shopping. Okay, every day basically big that site is performing millions of transactions. Okay, and if you just see that after getting those transactions, they are processing a lot of statistics. Maybe from the next day or day after next, you get a special offer from this thing. How they are doing basically? They have to analyze the data and then do that thing. But only thing is that just one, if they want to take the up-to-date data and then analysis, it might not be possible. Maybe one day delay data is more than sufficient for this type of analysis. Okay, as these are millions of records, then what they generally do, they write all those type of materials view, and they run at night time when there is no load in the database. Okay, so and creating those temporary, actually that materialized view data set, and they are using those data set while they are basically creating this offer maybe from the in the next day. Okay, so this is the tech, that is the reason actually materialized view is very important for those type of place. And that is the reason, if you just see, the most useful area of the materialized view is data warehouse and data analytics. Okay, they are using frequently this, because maybe one day or 1 week old data is sometimes more than sufficient. Okay, sufficient, and that is the reason they created the result and stored it into the materialized view. And but only thing is that sometimes you need to just, that it is a not a up-to-date data, so sometimes we need some mechanism to refresh that data. For that there are different options in the materials view. Okay, and one option is that you can write a trigger in the table level. As soon as a table is updated or inserted or deleted, maybe automatically it will run that view, and automatically it will be updated. Okay, the results set will be updated. See, this is on actually automatic. Okay, you can do that thing by writing the trigger, or you can write, there are some clause in while you are creating the view, you can define some clause. There you should tell how it will refresh on commit refresh. That means if you use this clause, what does it mean? That if any transaction into the base table is committed, then automatically it will refresh. That means automatically it will run and generate a new result set. Okay, and that is the reason sometimes it is called the snapshot. Actually earlier it was known as snapshot, but nowadays it is called the materialized view. Okay, and another beauty thing is that as you are basically running the view on huge data, and that result set might be very huge also, and subsequently if you really want to access the result set, you might need some indexing for performance purpose. Okay, and that is also possible because it is nothing but another table. So you can also create a appropriate index so that subsequent access of that data is much more faster than the normal view. Okay, okay, these are more or less all. If you just read now, I hope everything you'll understand. Okay, and okay, now if you really want to create the materialized view, how to create materialized view. Earlier it was create view, but here you have to say create materialized view. Okay, that is the thing. And mind it, materialized view can be either read-only, updatable, or writable. Okay, you can also write the materialized view like this. Okay, but most of the cases while you are using it in data analytics area, okay, most of the cases it is read-only because we need to analyze the data and get some result, and on the basis of the result we want to take some managerial action. That's all. Okay, if that is the purpose, then most of the cases it is read-only, but it is possible that updated. We are not going too much detail of all those things here. So but it is possible. You should know that thing. So this is the area where basically it is mostly used. Okay, not for actually For regular transactional database, we generally don't use, but for data warehouse and business intelligence, we need to do that thing. Now, just see some of the syntax. I have just briefly given some syntax, not in detail. Okay, the create materialize view, then you have to give the view name. Then you can just give a build clause, either immediate or default. What does it mean by immediate? That means when you are creating the view, okay, that means we are defining the view. After defining the view, automatically it will run and create a result set, because after that anybody can start using. Okay, in that case, if you really want that type of thing, then you can say build immediate. That means it will automatically build and create that particular thing and store it somewhere. And you can use the deferred also. That means it will just create the definition and save it, and it will not generate that particular result set until and unless you access that view later time. As soon as you first access that thing, particular thing, automatically it will generate the result. And this in the that is the reason they have given the two switch here. And refresh fast complete force on commit or on demand. Actually, you can say how, actually with the help of these two clauses, basically you are saying how it will refresh. What is the basically frequency of refreshing that result set? That is more important here, because somehow you have to impose some mechanism to refresh the data. That otherwise it will be very old data and useless data. Okay, because your database is updated on regular basis, but your view data is not up to date. So with the help of that type of data, you cannot take all managerial decision. Some of the decision may be done by 1 week data, actually the old data, but not all decisions. So that is the reason, okay, you have to update or refresh that particular view result periodically. Okay, and with the help of that particular clause, you can just provide that information. As I have already told you, the refresh on demand, if you just tell that thing on commit, that means as soon as you commit any transaction into the base table, automatically it will refresh. A refresh on demand, if you just see, okay, then you can just say, write a demand logic. Okay, say suppose you want that every week it will update. Okay, you can just write that thing accordingly. Okay, that condition you can write this thing. Fast means quickly it will just a portion, maybe the portion which is updated, that will do the update, the refresh the thing. Complete or force means, that means it will force you to do that thing. Okay, since some say, I'm not discussing many detail. Okay, here I'm just giving some idea so that you have a clear idea of what is material view. Say suppose I have done created a view, materialize view, employee, build immediate. That means immediately it will run and create the result set. Refresh complete. That means when it will refresh the completely. Okay, that means it might be deleted the whole record and refreshing it and generate the new result set. On commit, I am the when it will refresh on commit. That means as soon as there is a transaction committed in the base table, it will automatically update thing. Here I am using the employee table as this thing. In this way you can write. There are some more thing. Actually, Oracle suggests that when you are using the view, actually refer the table, you should always use the your what is called that schema name. Okay, but it is not a mandatory thing, but it is a very good practice, because most of the time when you are creating the view for the data warehouse and all the other thing, it might happen that one table is residing on database, another table is residing in another schema in another database. In that case, these are basically most of the time it is needed, because when in the warehouse, basically tables are very big fat size. So it might not happen that everything will be in the same same server. So it can be distributed. In that case, actually they are suggested. So I have given some idea. You hopefully it will be, you will able to understand. If you have any further query, I will better suggest that you can just go to the manual type or maybe in internet, okay, to get the full syntax. But for the time being, I don't think you don't need to know anything extra besides this. Okay, lot of teachers throughout the world actually think that it is not needed. Okay, but what we should say, from very old time, actually, this was included in the syllabus, and it is going on and going on. But this time, actually, fortunately, I try to cut down the syllabus. I have raised this dispute, and ultimately I have cut down the syllabus little bit, because it is basically nothing but additional burden to the user, student, because you are not using the relational algebra at all while you are querying. So it is better you just always try to know how to write a good SQL rather than relational algebra expression. But in favor of including the relational algebra, there is another argument, that is that if you really, anybody wants to work on the query optimizer on all those area, that time you will find that you need to know this concept. Okay, as we have also a small part on query optimizer. Okay, that is the reason I have given some short version of the relational algebra concept here, so that when we'll see that relational algebraic expression at the later stage, you can understand that thing. That is the only main objective. It is not that you have to write the relational algebraic expression to retrieve or perform all other operation in the database. Okay, because no, in the world, no database is accepting nowadays relational algebraic expression for fetching the data or doing any other DML operation. So there is no other way but to understand and know and understand the SQL. Okay, but it is also needed if anybody really wants to work with the actually background of the database. Okay, how it is executing the SQL, how you want to optimize the query, and all those things. If you really want to understand and work in that area, that time definitely you need to know that thing. And that is the reason I have just briefly covered that thing, although it is brief, but more or less all the fundamental operation I have covered here, and some of the complex operation also I have covered here. And not only that, another advantage might be you have, that is, you have already some knowledge of relational algebra while you are in the different mathematics class. So you might not face any issue at all. Okay, so in this concept, that is the reason I have briefly going to discuss that thing, relational algebra part, not the calculus. We have deleted that thing, and that is the main reason I have just printed the syllabus part here, so that you can understand, because most of you are not able to see, actually find time to see the what is the new syllabus. Okay, if you just follow the old syllabus, there relational calculus and all those things are there, we have cut off that part. Okay, now relational algebra, you know that thing, the algebra is, you are basically a expression where you are using some numeral or variable with some operation and doing something. In case of relational algebra, we see the same type of expression, but here the difference is that you are basically using only the relational operator inside the algebraic operator, and all the operand are relation. There it was just a variable, simple variable. Okay, but here all the operation is done on relation, and it will produce a resultant relation. And when you are basically doing all these operation in the relation algebra, you are not basically actually changing the original relation. You are just creating some new relation. Okay, after this operation, you are not changing the original one. With this brief introduction, let's see what is that. And I have already defined all those things here also. If you just go through, I hope you will understand. Okay. Okay, now let's see what is the difference between the relational algebra and SQL. Relational algebra is closed. That means result of every expression is a relation. Okay, has a rigorous foundation, has a simple semantics.
Sir,
actually, bolo.
আপনি কোনো পিডিএফ আপলোড করেছেন কি? শেয়ার স্ক্রিন করেছেন?
ও শেয়ার স্ক্রিন করিনি।
না, শেয়ার স্ক্রিনটা হয়নি না।
এটা বলবে তো।
আমরা আপনি এমনি একটা লেকচার দিচ্ছেন ওরালি।
না না না, ওরালি তো ওই পার্টটা ঠিক আছে, ওরালি হলে, কিন্তু করলাম তো মনে হচ্ছে, দাঁড়াও দেখছি। পেয়েছো এবার?
ঠিক আছে,
ফাইন ফাইন। Okay, actually that part is okay. I think that part is very introductory part. You can just go through the note, then you'll be able to understand. Let's see the comparing the array and this. Okay, array and SQL part. To compare Koreni, then you'll be able to understand why you need that thing. Because if you really want to do actually know anything, before that you should have the raise the question. Why should I know this thing? Okay, then you will find more interest in it, that subject. Is closed means that means it will result is always any operation result is another relation basically. Has a rigorous foundation. That means you can do everything with all the relational operator which is provided in the mathematics. Has simple semantics. Meaning is also not very simple. You'll see the different expression, then you'll understand. Is used for reasoning, query optimization, etc. This is one very good area. Actually, reason you should know the relational algebra. If you really want to actually write any algorithm for query optimization and all those things, that time you need to know this in depth. Not only this may not be sufficient. You need to know a lot of things. Okay. Is relationally complete. Okay, it is relationally complete language can perform all basic meaningful operation on relation. That means relation complete. That means all type of relational actually operation you can do on this particular on the relations. Okay, at meaningful operation you can do that thing. SQL is a superset of relational algebra. Mind it. Why I'm calling this superset? Actually, in the SQL, if you just see, there are a lot of other syntax is available. Okay, but ultimately all the syntax needs to be converted into the relational algebra. If you go to the relational algebra, you will find that they have a set of fundamental operation, and they have created, based on that fundamental operation, they have created some more operator. Okay, but in the SQL they are increasing day by day. They are increasing lot of keyword and inserting into this thing for new features. Okay, but ultimately, okay, that will be converted to the relational algebra expression. So in that sense, we can say SQL is superset of the relational algebra. Has a convenient formatting feature, etc. It is very good. You know that it is beautiful. You can write with the help of the different editor. That we can should not have any problem. Provides the aggregate functions. It is easy. Or different type of aggregate function they have provided. If you really want to just implement the aggregate functionality in the relational algebra by writing the fundamental operation, sometimes you will find it's very complicated and all those things. Has complicated semantics. Meaning part, it is more complicated than thing, because if you just say complicated select clause, you have to understand it properly. It will take some time. Is a end user language. Okay. And it is also relationally complete, because with the help of SQL, you can also do all type of operation on the relation. Okay, end user means here you people are the user ultimately, but relational algebra case basically the developer who is developing the DBMS, they are the basically user. Okay, they will use that thing. And in case of you are using the SQL. Operation up, if you first see the operator, you know that operators, okay, here in the relation is relation. Okay, it's nothing but a set theory, as per set theory. And what are the different operation you can do? Some fundamental operation are select, project, union, set difference, Cartesian product, and then this is the fundamental. And with the help of this fundamental operation or combination of this you can do lot of other operation, mainly intersection, join, division, assignment, all those things. Okay, we'll cover all the fundamental and some of the enhanced operation, which is basically built with the help of the other fundamental operation. Here I have given all the symbols in a set so that you can, if you remember, actually I always forget what is the symbol, what is the meaning. And that is the reason it is basically a ready reckoner for me. Okay, you can also use it if you just, in later stage, if you forget, you just come back and see what is meaning of this thing. And most of the cases, if actually as everybody forget this thing, that's why they have also another actually facility available. You can use the opcode, corresponding opcode also while you are writing these. Both are acceptable. It's not that always you have to use the symbol. You can use the opcode also, corresponding opcode also. Okay. Okay. And actually, if you just see that in any expression there is equivalence now, In algebra also, if you write an expression, okay, you write that expression in different way by reversing or something like that, they will see that both will give you the same result. So those type of things are basically equivalence. And in case of relational algebra is also there are a lot of equivalence. Actually, the query optimization phase, what they do, first they convert your SQL to the different actually expression, relational expression, okay, where all are equivalent expression. That means if you run any of the expression, it will generate the same result. Okay, then on the basis of various statistics, it try to find out which one is the most optimal. That means which will run fast. Okay, and then only basically it will just suggest that, or it will just generate that particular execution plan. Okay, and that is the reason that you should have some idea of the equivalence. So there is a lot of possibility that it is not that if you have a if you need some result, the expression can be written in only one way. There is no such way. Okay, there is, you can write a different equivalent expression also. Now let's see one by one the fundamental operation. Project. What is project? Project is basically say, here everything, every operation I will just with the help of some example, maybe actually equivalent SQL I will also show, so that you can easily understand what is the basically comparing with the SQL, what is that basically. Say this is my table, this is the employee table, they have three field, okay, NR, name, and this. Actually you should not tell table and all those things in case of relation. You said say everything is a relation. Just a 1 minute. Okay, so this is my relation with 3 column. Okay, if you really want to select only the salary, okay, if you just select the salary, then you should write select salary from E. Then it will say salary. And if you just see, write this SQL in your there, you just see that you will get 100, 300, and 100. Then it's 3 record you will get. If I just want to access the salary by writing the expression, actually relational expression, you have to say project. That means project is actually two, mainly you can say project sum of the column from all column. In the table there are several columns. I want to project some of them only. Okay, so here I should write the project, this operator or the symbol. Okay, I'll use the symbol also in the later part. Let's see, project, then salary, which field you want to project, that you have to give as a subscript. It is a more than one, you can write like this, comma, 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 and then within the bracket you just say the relation. It may be a one relation or another expression. Okay, it's not necessarily always it should be a relation, it is another relational expression, because you know that any relational expression will ultimately results in one relation. Okay, so naturally you can also use that thing for the complicator. But here the interesting thing is that it is showing the 100 and 300. It is not showing the 300. Why? Because you know that in the set theory rule is that if there is a duplicate actually record in the set, it will reject that duplicate. Okay, here actually that thing is happening, because but in the SQL by default it is not doing that thing. If you really want to duplicate the record in the SQL query, you have to write the actually query accordingly. It will not, the duplicate dropping is not by default. Okay, but in case of relational algebra, if you write an expression, you get the result, you will always get after duplicate rejection. Always remember that thing. So project copies this argument relation from the specified for the specified attributes only. Since a relation is a set, duplicate rows are eliminated as per set theory rule. Okay, actually, if you just see that thing here, actually, I can use this operator, pi, basically, in place of that operator. Borrower is one of the relation, okay, from the borrower relation, there are a lot of attributes. I want to access only the borrower name and CNAME. Okay, then I should write this expression. It will just provide that thing. If you just see this here, actually here something is missing. I cannot correct this thing because this is an image. Okay, so this is very difficult for me to correct that thing. That's why missing part I have indicated. So you should not mistake that thing. Okay, we can say here, if you just see that thing, client is a relation. Okay, from the client relation, mind it, I am accessing, okay, some record, okay, or some set where the CNAME is equal banker, with the help of select operator. Or that means select means here, don't confuse with the select of SQL. Select means restrict. You are getting all the record. If you don't restrict, you will get all the record. If you want to get, that means it will work as a where clause. If you, as soon as you give this where clause, it will return you only the record which is satisfying this thing. And after getting this, if you just execute that thing, then automatically what you will get, you get another relation. Okay, and from that relation, basically you want to access or select only the CNAME. Okay, so that is the reason I have told you it may not be only a relation, it can be expression also, relational expression. This is the example of that thing. Okay, so in this way, gradually, when you try to write that thing, you will see that it will become actually complex and complex. Okay, but remember one thing, when you try to interpret this thing, you start from the right side. Okay, you see what this expression is giving, and then apply. That means you, in the background of the mind, you assume that it is returning a relation. So expression will be converting to a relation. Okay, now you are applying this function on that relation. So from the left to right, actually right to left, you just move in this way, then hopefully you will understand any complex relation. Okay, expression, sorry. Now select thing, like say here, this is my result set. When say there is a employee table, there are a lot of information. If I want to just find out who are the employee who is getting salary less than 200, okay, I'll just write select salary less than 200 from E. E is my relation. Or you can write a complex thing, condition, or sometimes we call it a predicate. Okay, if you write a complicated predicate at any and or operation, greater than, less than, everything you can just, okay. So don't confuse, repeatedly I'm saying, don't confuse it with the select clause of select command of SQL. Now just see this thing I have used. Okay, borrower is my this, borrower is my relation. From the borrower, I accessing the record where the B name is equal to SFU. Okay, so I'm selecting this result. If you just see here, I'm using the AND operation also. Okay, so in this way, ultimately you will find that your relational expression can be more and more complicated. Just a minute. Okay, now let's see union. I will cover the union in SQL in later part of our SQL class. Union and intersection, your difference, everything I will cover in the SQL in the later part. But here you see the relational thing here. So union is denoted by this, okay? And if you say, suppose union means, you know that there is one table, you want to basically add the table or append the record from the another table. Okay, okay, so I'm creating a result set. Okay, okay, so union is one table is there, another table is there. So you are basically adding all the record at the end of this another table. That is basically called union. Okay, now you just see the union. If you really want to do the union, there is a question that if all the tables should follow some rule. Otherwise, say suppose one table has a 5 column, another table has a 10 column. So if you just add like this, one column, what will happen? How it will add, okay, at the end. So that is the reason there are some rule that sometimes we call it should be union compatible, okay. Some two basic rules are that the number of column must be the same in both the table or both the relation, and the data type of the corresponding column must be same. Otherwise, say suppose first column is student name, say then it is a roll number and then something age. You are basically want to add all the info from employee table or faculty tables, these three information: employee name, their employee ID, and the age. Mind it, if you just create that set, both the set has three number of columns. So it is in that sense it is compatible. At the same time, you have to say name and student name and the faculty name. Both are, maybe field name is different, mind it, that is immaterial. Type is same. Okay, type is, it might be string. If the class roll number is number, then employee ID should also be number. Okay, and it should be in the second position. Age is a number, there is also age, then it is compatible. But if you find that something different in the two table, then you cannot just do the union. Okay, so this is the union compatible rule. We'll see that thing in the SQL part also. Okay, what are the other rules we have to follow? Now we just see that thing here. Here, as I have told you, I should always start from here. This is my union operator. Okay, that means it is adding this particular relation with this relation. Now let's see what is the result of this relation. Deposit, actually what I want to do, what is my query? To find all customers of SFU branch. There is a branch named SFU. I want to find out all customer. Must find everyone who has a loan or a savings bank account. They are actually, or say deposit account or loan account. Okay, actually two type account. You can, as you know that you are the bank customer, you can open the savings bank or the deposit account, fixed deposit or savings bank. So I want to find out, but not necessarily all the customer will open the fixed deposit or reverse. Of course, in our cases, if you open the fixed deposit, automatically there should be a linked savings bank. But if you open a savings bank, that does not mean that you have the deposit account. So I want to find out all the customer name who has savings, actually borrower account, that means who has taken the loan, at the same time who has a depositor account, that means savings bank type of account. Okay, if you really want to know that thing, that means first you have to, and those information belongs to two different relations. So naturally you have to fetch those things and then push everything in one relation and give it back. Now we just see that thing. Here the depositor is a relation. From the depositor relation, I will find out all the depositor information of this particular branch. Mind it, they have only one table for every branch. That is the reason we need to first restrict that thing. After doing that, you just access, select only, okay, project only the CNAME. That means from here, what I got, that all the depositors holder or customer's name of the SFU branch. If you just see here in the borrower, similarly borrower, that means who has taken the loan, I got all the information of the borrower of that particular branch, and then project only the CNAME. That means here I am just getting all the customer name who has taken the taken the loan, and then I just union it. Mind it, there are a lot of people who has taken this thing as well as this thing, and really I want that thing. Or there are actually, there might be lot of what we call this the duplicate record. Okay, the one person can take the borrow, so it will be come to this relation as well as the result. But I know that when you ultimately do the relational operation, if there is a duplicate record into the result, it will automatically drop the duplicate. So in the result set, I will get, okay, all the account all the customer name who has either loan or a depositor account in that particular branch. Okay, so in this way I can use the actually union. Okay, there is another variety of union, sometimes that is called the outer union. Okay, but I have just given an example so that if anybody, what is the concept actually, it is partially compatible. Okay, if the tables are partially union compatible. Let's take an example. In this table there is two row, two column A and B. And the table is there is only two column, that is B and C. That means only the B column is column this. If I just want to just add this thing, like union this thing, what type of result I will expect is a very logical result, that it is basically performing this union on based on this column, and you just see the in some cases where C is not there is pushing the null. Okay, so in this way also you can just generate some result set by using the outer union. Okay, Cartesian product, that is very common operation in set theory, and you know how it is doing. But it is very useful operation, but without the restricting the data, it is not a meaningful operation at all. The Cartesian product, you know that it is nothing but a combination of two sets. Okay, so it will take all the record from this thing and combine every record with each record. Okay, or from the other table or other relation. So if I have one table like this and one table like this, it is basically creating this thing, table thing. So 3 and 3, that means it will create 9 record. And what is the operation? You can say E cross this. This is the Cartesian product. And Cartesian product is not common. You know the combination thing. You have seen this in relational algebra. Okay, but you just try to understand that it is basically helpful for combining both the table. Okay, 2 table or 3 table, whatever it means. But what is the result said? What it is giving? Okay, it is not really basically meaningful thing. See here, Billy, sometimes it is saying Bill is working in the marketing department. Sometimes it is saying that Bill is working in the sales. Which one is correct? Okay, so until and unless I restrict that thing, okay, restrict that result using some logic, okay, it might not be very meaningful thing. And that is the reason I'll show you later on that the concept of join will come. Okay, so but you need to know what is Cartesian product. Okay, say suppose here I'll try to derive some meaningful result with the help of an example. Say suppose we want to retrieve a list of names of each female employees dependent. Okay, in the employee there are a lot of female as well as male. I want to know who are the department of female employee, not the male employee. Okay, how I am doing this thing? Just see, I just actually dividing in different parts so that you can understand actually clearly. Mind it, you can also write the expression in this way. Okay, one by one you write, create a might be you are creating a temporary relation and use the temporary relation in the next step. In this way you can also write, no problem. Okay, and sometimes it is advisable when the actually your expression is very complex. Okay, that time you should use this technique so that you can understand everything and write it properly. First, what I have to do, if you really want to do it manually, first thing, if you do it manually, what you will do? First, you try to find out who are the who are the female employee. Okay, so I use a selection operator where sex is equal to F and apply this operation on this operator relation employee. So naturally in the temporary I have, that is the reason I have given a name like this, so suitable name, so that I can understand what is the result set indicates. Okay, but mind it, in between, actually when the relational algebraic operation is done, in between intermediate, they are not giving any name or this thing. I am basically giving here for my convenience for my understanding. So employee, I am applying this operation on employee. I am getting this temporary relation, which is indicating that all female employee. Okay. Now you just see, I got the female employee, but I do not need all the information. I need only some important information. That particular table might have a lot of information. So what I have done, I have just project only these three information, because ultimately I need this thing: F name, last name, and SSN, on a social security number of that particular employee. So I got that. So employee names I create the name. So from this temporary relation, I create another temporary. Now you just say, mind it, this operator is basically assignment operator. So sometimes we call it is like a equal, but you cannot use equal because this is not two variables like this. So you can just send, I have assigned this result to on the relation. Okay, so this is the assignment operator. And then what I have done, if I really want to find out the dependent, I have to join these two tables anyway. Okay, I have to join the female employee with the dependent. But if I just do the Cartesian product, okay, of these two, then ultimately I will get the employees' dependents. But mind it, here the danger is that all the dependent who are not the female employees department, they are also joined with the female. So that means this result is sometimes giving some wrong information. It is showing some dependent under a female employee who are actually the dependent of male employee. Because it is a Cartesian product, all the dependent will be joined with the all the employee. So, but I got some result. I have joined that thing. That is, now what I have done, I mind it, in the dependent table, dependent has also some SSN, and also it is indicated that who is his mother or father. That is also indicated with some SSN, and that is the reason in the dependent table I am saying the employee SSN as ESSN. Understand? So naturally here I am applying a select clause or select operation. What is that? I have given the, on that particular Cartesian product, you select all the record where SSN and ESSN are same. If SSN and ESSN same, it indicates that particular dependent belongs to that particular female employee. Okay, so naturally here I am getting the actual dependent. Understand? Now we just see that I got the actual dependent, but I got the lot of information which might not be wanted by the user. User only wants F name, last name, and dependent name. That means employee's F name, last name, which I have already accessed from the employee table, and the dependent name from the dependent table. Because as soon as you do the Cartesian product, all the dependent information will join. Okay, we'll come to the result set. So naturally here I apply another actually project clause which will project only the important attribute which I am needed. So ultimately it will give the result. So in this way you'll see that you can easily, with the help of that fundamental operation, you can execute a very good query and get the result. Okay. And next fundamental operation is called rename. Actually, it can help you to rename the table or column. Okay, renaming sometimes, most of the time, required mainly for two parts. When you are basically doing an operation and creating a result set where some of the column name are repeated. Actually, that column exists in both the table or both the relation. So when you are basically doing some operation, join operation on that particular thing, then both the column will come and both are basically equal name. How to handle the ambiguity in the next phase? Okay, so that is the reason sometimes we need to, or sometimes when you are joining self-joining. Basically, same tables you are joining with the same table. Okay, so naturally, what will happen? So naturally, at the later stage, if you really want to refer some column of that particular relation, as both the relation has the same name, it is basically ambiguous thing. It cannot be done. In that case, what you have to do, you have to first rename that thing. And for that, basically, they have provided basically the rename operator. Actually, if in the SQL, I have already pointed out when we just write the select, actually inner join, outer join, or all the complicated SQL, then we'll see that that is the purpose of alias. That is the reason we are providing the alternate name, so that there should not be any ambiguity when the column name is same, or when the same table, the table is joined with the cell, another same table. Okay, so in that case, we are basically doing the alias, and here we are using the rename operator. Okay, how to rename that thing? Say like your employee E is a relation. I want to just rename it. I can just row XE. That means now you will be E can be referred as X. Okay, or you can write rename X here, like this. Okay, now let's see some example of thing, and then you'll able to understand. The second form of the rename operation is as follows. Assume that a relational algebraic expression E has n number of attributes. Then the expression you can write or rename this, return the result of expression E under the name. Okay, so here from the E, here we want to get all the attribute, but when the result set, basically when you are getting, you can assume that the result set name is X, not E. Okay, you can in this way, okay, actually you are basically changing the name of the attribute like this. Okay, now just see this thing, and so with the help of some example. I want to join department with employee. Okay, that is my purpose. Okay, I want to join this thing. Say here, if you just see, I have renamed GR number, dename D. Okay, and rename ER number, rename this E. I have joining with the help of what is the joining condition? Department number is this. Now just see that thing. So join is operator which is joining two tables D and basically E. But after joining these two things, okay, but while joining these two things, rather we say, I want to rename the column which existing in E. Okay, if you really want to do that thing, okay, first what you have to do, we just rename the column. I can rename the column in this way. Rename this within this and D. Okay, it is like when you are writing the select clause, after each column, if you give a S clause and give the alias like this. In the result set, if you just see, in the result set, when it will join and it will give that thing, you just see the E column, which is coming from the E column, it is giving in, NR, this and this. Maybe original in the table, the name was not like this. Okay, different. Okay, and here dname and dnr I have changed this equal. It will join, create that join, and then ultimately rename all the column. Okay, say here I have just given, after doing that thing, okay, department is the column of the E number, and DR number is a column which is coming from the department. If you don't rename it, might be that most of the cases we are using the same column name while you are establishing the foreign key. So naturally we expect that DEPT is also the name of the department table, department code, okay, DEPT. But as soon as I rename this thing, in the result set I will get this one. Okay, so now if you really want to just join that thing, then you can easily join that department equal to this. Okay. Achha. Rename operation solves the problem that occurs with naming when performing the Cartesian product. Most of the cases we find that the Cartesian product results lot of column which has of same name. Maybe it is referring from the same table or different table. Okay, suppose we want to find, just take an example, then it will be more clear. Okay, I want to just do one query. We want to find the name of all customers who live in the same street and same city as Smith. That means Smith is one person who is living in a city and state, city and street. I want to find out all the customers who are also living in the same thing. Okay, now let's see how we can write this thing and what type of problem I will face and how to solve this thing. So first thing what I have done, first customer is my customer relation. So from the customer, I find out the Smith record. CNAME is equal to Smith, and that means it will get the Smith record. Mind it, I am using the name, not the employee ID. Okay, that is the reason I have used this thing. And then from that particular record, I am projecting only street and city. Okay, so I get here the street and city of the Smith. Okay, so up to this, if I write up to this, I am getting the result set or relation which has one row with street and city of Smith, basically. Okay, and now you just see that thing. I have done the customer and partition product with this thing. That means it will be added. It will be actually create a combination result, okay, with the customer same table. Mind it, here I am just using the same table. So naturally, the field name is street and city. As soon as I just created the product, Cartesian product, that means I will get 2 street, 2 city column. Okay, because one will come from this side and another is already available from here. Okay, so it is very difficult because there are two column when I will want to restrict that set, because I know that if it is just a Cartesian product, it will not provide you any meaningful result. So I have to write some predicate. After doing that thing, I have to write a predicate to restrict that result. This is basically called predicate. That is basically that condition which we are going to write. But problem is here that how can I going to write that thing, because I have to refer both the city and state and both are same name. Okay, so naturally the question is coming, how can I resolve this thing? Just see here. What I have done, that if you just see here, just see, customer Smith, I am doing, then finding the set of this thing and doing this thing. Oh, okay. Just see this thing. First, what I have done, as I know that I am going to use the customer twice, what I have done, first I just rename the first customer table. Okay, so that means the column which will come from that particular result set, okay, I will refer that column with the help of this name, not the customer. So I first apply the renaming of that particular table, okay, and then I perform the earlier query, okay, get the Smith record, get the street and city, okay. That means from this particular relation set, if you really want to access the street and city, you can access with the help of this alias customer dot, because you know that any attribute can be accessed with the help of relation name dot this thing. So here I can use cust2, not the customer, okay, and then I am doing the Cartesian product, and while I am selecting that thing, I am referring, you just see one side I am referring the customer side with city with the help of customer, and this part city with the help of cust2. In this way, I can write the complete predicate, okay, and there is no ambiguity, there is no problem at all, okay. So in this way, I can apply that rename, okay, so that I can resolve this ambiguity at later stage. I can use that particular properly. So in this way, I can use the rename command. Now just see the difference. Set difference is denoted, next one is the difference. Set difference is, mind it, if you just gradually go down and down, you'll see that in the difference I am using all the operators which are fundamental operator. Okay, so in the difference actually most probably most of the cases we are using, and there is also the difference operator we are using here. Okay, now just see the thing. Set difference is denoted by the minus, okay. So this is also a fundamental operator, of course, okay, or is one relation but not in another. That means the tuple or the record is available in one relation but not available in the other. If you really want to find out this type of query, then you have to try to write. Just say, I want to find out the customer of the SFU branch who have an account there but no loan. That means he has a deposit account but no loan account. Okay, if you really want to find it out, then what I have to, I try to find out the customer name who has the loan account. Okay, and then I go to I find out that customer name who has the depositor account, then negate it, just difference it, then automatically I will get only the customer who has the deposit account, because in the deposit account might be some of the customer might have the borrower account also. So if you just negate this thing, differences, then automatically you will get the customer who has no borrower account. Okay, actually this can be implemented with two clauses. Actually, that was implemented at the later stage in the RDBMS. That is sometimes they are, in some RDBMS they are calling it except, and sometimes they are, some RDBMS they are calling it a minus. Okay, before this clause has come into the select, we generally like to use this type of SQL query to get that, to resolve this query. But nowadays most of the RDMS they provide the except or minus operation or keyword, with the help of which you can resolve this thing. I will cover the minus part later on in the SQL also, but only thing is here I am referring that so that you can understand that this is also important. This is nowadays available in the SQL also. Now come to the join, which is basically the most important thing, and later on in the SQL also we in detail will consider the join part, because most of the cases after designing the relational database, you will find that only a single table cannot satisfy your requirement at all, because we are normalizing the table. So naturally we are dividing the table in small table ultimately, okay, to maintain the proper integrity and consistency. So ultimately when you need any result, you need to join the table, otherwise you cannot get any faithful result. Okay, so here just join will help to do that thing. Join is sometimes it is called the inner join also. Here mind it, what is join? If you understand the Cartesian product, you can say simply the Cartesian product up on the Cartesian product. Okay, if you just apply a select or restrict clause or restrict operator, okay, select operator, then the combination is nothing but a join. Okay, that means after creating the Cartesian product, you are not always getting all the faithful result until and unless we apply a restriction on that thing to get your meaningful result. Okay, so here basically I am doing that thing, then combination is basically called that join condition. And in this case basically this is actually, if you really want to write that thing, these are basically equivalent expression. Here I have done the Cartesian product and after that we are applying this thing, but here the same operation I'm doing with the help of join. You can write the join, then joining clause you write here, and in the left side you can refer one table, right side you can refer another table. Okay, in the, if you really want to use the mathematical notation, you can use the mathematical, these are equivalent basically. In case of join, you can write the symbol. This is a symbol. Okay. So always remember, join is nothing but the Cartesian product followed by a select. Okay, that is basically called join, because Cartesian product may not give always. I'm saying not always give the full result or the required result which is wanted by you. So that is the reason we have to actually implement a select thing. Okay, so that combination is basically called the join. Now we just see the join might be of different type. I will consider something here. Say like here, I have written a join like this, SID this BID. Okay. Now first see what are the different variety of join. One is called self join. Equijoin, sorry. Equijoin means when you are joining condition, you are basically writing using the equal sign only. Okay, then in that case we call equijoin. That means it based on the equality of these two fields, the value of these two fields. Okay, joining is done. So then you can call this a equijoin. And then another is called the natural join. That means if you really want to join two tables and there are a lot of same field with same value, okay, automatically it will basically join based on those things. Okay, then it is that means common field will be automatically taken care of in the joining clause. Or will take part in the joining clause, common fields available in both the table. Okay, in that case, we call it natural join. That means you need not specify the join clause here. If you write the join like this S1 R1, okay, then automatically common field will be joined automatically. All the common field, mind it. Say suppose I just give an example, but most of the cases it is very confusing because how many common fields are there you really do not know. So naturally when you are basically joining in the basis of that thing, sometimes it might not get the meaningful result, and that is the reason basically most of the cases we are not using the natural join in this case. Explicitly you should write the what is joining condition. That is much better, much more documented way of executing that thing. Now just see this thing here. I have written one thing, S1 join R1. These are the both table, and I am joining these two field. If you just see S1 SID is the field of S1. That is the reason I am referring it S1 dot this, and SID is also another field of R1 because as both the field name are same, I cannot say SID equal to SID. How to indicate that from which table it or which relation it is coming, and that is the reason actually I am actually indicating the relation name dot this. In this way also you can resolve this thing without renaming. Okay, okay. So naturally I use that thing, but if you closely look into it, it is as good as writing this because both the field name are common in both the table. So it is nothing but a natural join. So I can also write that thing, but if you write this thing, that means it is not indicate that whether it is only joining based on this or other common field which is available in that particular relation. That is the reason it is always better, although it is a natural join, you should write in this way. Okay, it is always better. And if there is no attribute common into this thing, and if you write a join clause like this, then what will happen? It will basically nothing but a cross product, because you know that the join is nothing but a cross product followed by the selection. Okay, selection needs a common actually clause predicate for applying that restriction. But if there is no common field, no predicate, what does it mean? That means ultimately this is the cross product. Okay. Now come to the intersection. Intersection is another operation where basically returns a relation containing all tuples that occurs in both R and S. Here in the difference we have seen it is only available in one side, not available in other side. Intersection, it is available in both the relation. Okay. So if it is so, then intersection should also follow the union compatibility. Otherwise you cannot do that thing. Say in the SQL, if you really want to write the intersection, you can write the SQL when intersect clause was not there, but nowadays intersect clause is there, so you can also write this thing in this way. Okay, and division, which is slightly complicated, and if you just see that thing, how you can do that thing. Try to understand. Division operation denotes this with the help of this division operator. We can denote this thing is useful for special kind of query in the database. If you really want to write some complicated management query, sometimes we might require the division. Okay, so here an example is that just I am giving an example. Retrieve the name of the employees who work on all projects that John Smith works on. That means John Smith is working on different projects maybe. I try to find out all the employees who are also working on all this project. Okay, he might work in some other project also. Only thing is that I have to pick up all these employees who are also working in all the project. Maybe in addition, he is also working in some other project. Okay, so it is a very complicated query. So let's see how the division operation can be done to get resolve this query. First, think step by step. First, you think that how the division can be done, and what is the ultimate rule of doing the division, and then will understand that thing, and it can be done only with the help of an example. Say first step, what you want to do, you want to retrieve the list of project number that John Smith works. First you have to know that thing. Okay, so always I'm just telling you that if you really have a query and try to find out the result, first you think if the data is actually available in this way, in different relation, different way, then you start thinking, if I really want to do it manually, what I want to do. Then we'll automatically find out what are the different actually corresponding operations you need to do in the relational algebra or in the SQL. Okay, always conceptually you have to think, otherwise you cannot write just, it is not a mathematical thing, just you know that this is the operation, you can just one by one you can write, you can get the result. So conceptually you have to think how you need to actually access those information from the database step by step, and then apply that operation. It might be different way also. It's not a single way you can think like this. So one person will think in one way, another person might think in another way. Okay, now let's see that how we can find out this thing. Employee is my relation. I say F name is John and last name is Smith. In the same way, here I am not basically accessing with the help of employee code. The user do not know the employee code. He has told you only the name. You tell me all the employees who are working in the same project where John Smith works on. Okay, so naturally, first, what is your job? First, you have to, from the project employee, as soon as you are actually deploying the employee in a project, you are maintaining some record somewhere. So from there, you have to find out who is basically that, what are the different projects he is working on. Okay, now say suppose first we strip the last list of project number that John Smith works in the intermediate relation. First I am doing that thing. This is my relation basically where intermediate, where I will try to find. What I have done first, I just access from the employee the record of John Smith record. Okay, because I do not know the SSN number of John Smith, mind it. That is the reason first I have to find out that thing. Because in all other record, all other relation, okay, I'm not referring his information with the help of his name. I'm referring his information with the SSN number, but I do not know the SSN number. So how to know that thing? First you access his record. It is the relation I got, that is basically nothing but the information of John Smith. Now just come to this thing. I join this thing, and works on is another relation where basically I have all record of the SSN number and project number of all the employee. I got the SSN number here, so naturally I just join this thing basis of SSN number. And in the works on table, basically that SSN number, same field is basically we are saying the ESSN number, means that employee SSN number. Okay, so I am just basically just joining on the basis of these two things, equal join. And after joining this thing, I will get the basically all the project, all the information, okay, where John Smith is basically working. But I want only the project number, because I'm interested in the project number, to know the project number. So what I have done a projection of the project number. So this particular temporary relation will provide you the project number where John Smith is ultimately working. Okay, first we have done that thing. Now next, create a relation that includes the tuple project number and employee SSN whenever the employee whose social security number ESN works on the project whose project number is PNN. Okay, now in the intermediate, so what I have done here, if you just see here, I have got the Smith project number. Mind it, I got the Smith where all the project number where Smith is working. Maybe more than one project, I got this thing. Here what I have done, I want to find out all the project number and the employee SSN number, if everybody's, not only Smith. from the works on table. Okay, so I am getting the SSN number and PSN number of all the employee. Now I finally apply the division. Okay, I divide this thing with the help of this thing. This is the actually project where the Smith is working, and here this result set is giving the employee number and the project number where all the employee are basically doing this thing, working on the project. So what I have done now, I just now divide it. Okay, if I divide it, then only I will get all the SSN number where who are working in the same project as the Smith. Okay, and from that, after getting that thing, this particular SSN S is basically, what is that? It is basically giving all the, maybe giving the only the SSN number, but then from the using the employee and SSN number, basically both the field I am using to select the F name and last name, because I need that F name and last name only. Okay, so I just do that thing. Ultimately, it will. If you just pictorially try to represent that thing, as it is slightly complex, let's see that this is my works thing. Okay, where SSN number, PO number is my this table, this result set. Sorry, this result set. That means it is deriving from the works on. From the works on, what information I have? That ESSN number, that employee SSN number, and PO number, in which project it is working. Okay, and this is my table I have done. I have result set. And when I am accessing the Smith information from this thing, what I have got, the 1 and 2 is a project. Okay, that means here the Smith ESSN SSN number is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and if you just pictorially see that result, it is saying that 1 and 2 is my project number where Smith is working. Now, if you really want to find out manually, if you just see that 1, 2, where the 1, 2 is appearing, and this C1, 2 appearing, and same SSN number. That means this fellow is also working in the same project. Is there anything? Ultimately, we are finding no more. So that means what is the thing that I got, that these are the two SSN number which is working in the same project. Okay, so in this way, basically division operation is working. Okay, I have given some more examples so that you can just try to understand that thing. Okay, because without seeing that thing now in actually examining in detail is very difficult to understand the decision part. This is another example. I have given a lot of examples so that you can just see the thing. Okay, SQL for division nowadays also SQL is also available, that I will show you later on. Okay, or you can write, if the division SQL is not available, you can also write that complicated query like this. Okay. Now, most important, why I am just not covering lot of things on the division on this, I just give some examples. The most important thing is the relation. What is relational algebraic expression? You should actually know that part and try to understand it properly, because I need to use this relational algebraic expression in the later on when you are optimizing the SQL. Okay, so that is the reason you should try to understand this thing. Okay, this is also, I have shown this relational algebraic expression is nothing but a expression where you are doing lot of relational algebraic operation and ultimately just generating a particular resultant relation. Okay, now that see that thing here, if you just see here, and how to basically, most important thing, how to read this expression. Okay, when you are writing any relational algebraic expression which is giving a result, you have to always start from the right. You just try to scan it and try to understand one by one what relation it is giving. Just see here what I have done. Employee is a record, employee is a relation from where salary is less than 200, I am getting all the tuples or all the record. Okay, so it is nothing but a temporary relation is generating, and on that particular temporary relation, I am just try to project these two names. So ultimately, what does it mean? I'm accessing these two fields from this table, okay, for all the record where salary is less than 200. In this way, step by step, you should think, and you can also write it in step by step like this. First, you give a name to that particular temporary relation, something as you like, and then use that thing into the next stage and ultimately create that thing. In fact, in case of complicated relation algebraic thing, you need to write in this way, otherwise we might not understand it properly. Okay. Now,
স্যার
বলো।
স্যার বলছি যখন একটু স্লাইড, হ্যাঁ স্যার, যখন আমি প্রজেক্ট নেম স্যালারি করছি তখন কি এই যে মানে সিলেক্ট স্যালারি লেস দ্যান 200 এর থেকে কি এক্সট্রাক্ট করছি?
সিলেক্ট স্যালারি লেস দ্যান 200 মানে হচ্ছে তোমার যখন তুমি ইজ এ রিলেশন, দ্যাট মিন্স একটা ধরো টেবল, এমপ্লয়ি টেবল, তার মানে সব রেকর্ড গুলো অ্যাক্সেস করছে যেখানে স্যালারি ফিল্ডটা লেস দ্যান 200 আছে। ওকে, it is accessing all the record from the employee table where salary is less than 200. That means যে সব লোকগুলো less than 200 স্যালারি পায় তাদের রেকর্ড গুলো দিচ্ছে, ঠিক আছে? তাতে সেটা একটা রেকর্ড সেট হলো, সেইটার উপর তুমি কি করছো এই প্রজেক্ট ট্যাবে, তুমি শুধু নাম আর স্যালারি জানতে চাও, আর কিছু জানতে চাও না, সেই জন্য আরেকটা অপারেটর লাগাচ্ছ ওটার উপর, বুঝলে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, যে যখন আরেকটা অপারেটর লাগাচ্ছি তখন কি মানে ওর ওই লেস দ্যান 200 এর সব ভ্যালু গুলো আমাকে দিচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ, এই তুমি মনে করো না, তুমি এইভাবে দেখো, এইভাবে ভেবে নাও তুমি, হ্যাঁ, যে তুমি যেই এটা করলে, যেন মনে করো ভেতরে একটা টেম্পোরারি টেবিল তৈরি হলো যার মধ্যে তোমার ওই লেস দ্যান 200 এর রেকর্ড গুলোই আছে। ওকে, এবার হচ্ছে নেক্সট অপারেটর কার উপর লাগিয়েছে, তুমি তো ইয়ের উপর লাগাওনি, তুমি তো লাগিয়েছো টেম্পোরারির উপর, আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড? সো ন্যাচারালি ওই রেকর্ড গুলোর উপরই এই অপারেটরটা লাগবে। এটা ইনফ্যাক্ট যখন কমপ্লিট এরম রাখি, এটা বেসিক্যালি ওরকম ভাবেই করা হয় এভরি স্টেজে। It is basically applying one operator, creating a result set, which is another relation and which is basically used as the operand from the next operator. এইভাবেই এগিয়ে যায়, সেই জন্যই তো বলছি এটা পড়ার নিয়ম হচ্ছে এইভাবে এগিয়ে যাও, রাইট সাইড থেকে এক অর ব্র্যাকেটেড যদি থাকে তবে সেই অনুযায়ী দেখে দেখে বুঝে বুঝে এগিয়ে যাও, তুমি আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড করতে পারছো কি কি রেজাল্ট এটা দেবে, ঠিক আছে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, থ্যাংক ইউ।
আচ্ছা, now you just see the another example here, okay? আচ্ছা, তোমরা কি লাস্ট কোশ্চেনটা পেয়েছো? সেকেন্ড কোশ্চেনটা কি পেয়েছো?
স্যার দেখিনি এখনো, দেখছি।
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা, because that was also scheduled 3 minutes earlier, we should have this question. Okay, now just see this thing here. I have two tables. একটা টেবিলে কি আছে? স্টক। স্টক টেবিল means that basically you know that every industry in their production system they are maintaining the stock of different item, তাই না? সেটাকে basically generally call stock table, where there are some information. One is the stock number, that means basically the item code, which is the primary key. Stock type, and depending upon the type of the item there is a reorder level. That means আবার ধরো সে সাপোজ if it is a consumable, ধরো খাতা কলম এইসব ইউজ হয়, okay, in the production unit by everybody. Every type of item they have set a reorder level. Reorder level মানে কি? If the stock level, মানে total quantity on hand go beyond that thing, lower হয়ে যায় তার থেকে, then automatically purchase system will trigger a purchase order. Okay, এটা হচ্ছে idea, overall idea. So now for doing that thing I need to maintain two relation. One relation where I have to maintain all the stock, that means item code. Here this is a actually stock type, একটা ফরেন কি আছে অন্য কোনো জায়গা, এই যে এর সঙ্গে এই যে স্টক টাইপের সঙ্গে একটা ফরেন কি রিলেশন, Stock name basically nothing but it is the item name. Quantity on hand, kotota quantity is already available, because always it is basically giving the quantity to production, so naturally it is reducing. So naturally at any point of time, what is the quantity in on hand, and on order, what actually, if you already place the order which has not yet received, that total quantity is also kept somewhere. And another table is there, that is the stock type. Depending upon the stock type, you have specified a reorder quantity, ROP or something you are saying. Okay, now এই জিনিসটার মধ্যে তুমি যেই দেখো, so that means in ROP is basically defined in the type level. Actually, for set of stock item, we have one ROP, and stock is basically maintained for individual item. Okay, now I want to find out a query, and let's see how we can do this thing. Lists the stock number, stock name, quantity on hand, reorder point. Okay, reorder point, it is available here, not in the table. And order size for all stock item in which the quantity on hand is at or below the reorder point, and no order has yet been placed. That means on order quantity is n. Okay, কোনো অর্ডার দিইনি, এরকম ধরনের একটা বেসিক্যালি লিস্ট আমাকে তৈরি করে দিতে হবে। ওকে, সো বাট হিয়ার ইফ ইউ জাস্ট সি দেয়ার আর লট অফ ইনফরমেশন is you have to produce, which you can only produce by joining these two things. Without joining you cannot do. Okay, now let's see how we can do that thing. First thing, to বুঝতেই পারছো, we have to join these two tables, because you need lot of information which is residing in the other table. Okay, so what I have done, stock type is my one relation, stock is another relation. I just join it. Joining basis on stock type is equal to T type. Okay, and then what I have done, I have applied a restriction on that result set. Okay, that means I have just doing a select clause where quantity on hand is less than ROP. Okay, as soon as you just join that thing, you are getting the ROP of further individual item. So on that basis I have done this thing. Okay, on that particular result set I am applying the on order quantity is n. Mind it, why I have done this, mainly to show you that simple thing. I can easily do that thing with the end operation, this and this in one shot. And actually in practical cases we'll do that thing. We never write the two select separately. Okay, but we can always do that thing. But here for understanding purpose, I just do it one simple way so that you can understand how it is proceeding. First I joining these two record, the two table, I got all the information, then apply this restriction. So I am getting all this information which is less than ROP, and then again apply on this, because this is another condition. I have done this thing, and then at end I am just actually picking up, projecting only these two things. Okay, in this way I can do all those things. If you just want to just divide it into simple thing, you can also write in this way. Okay, leave it up to this. Okay, I will just cover the next time some of the extended relational algebraic operation. And mind it, most of the cases I have seen how to retrieve the record. So naturally is that can I not do the insert and update with the help of relational? Yes, you can also do that thing. I'll give some example, but all those things are not included in the syllabus. Still I have given some examples so that for completeness purpose, nothing else. Follow?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, বলছি টেম 4 এ যে সাইনটা আছে এটা কি?
কোনটা
এই টেম 4 এর এরর পরে যে সাইনটা আছে
এটা
না 4 টেম 4
হ্যাঁ। ওকে, এটা একটা নতুন পেয়েছো? আচ্ছা, I will explain that thing. It is actually it is called generalized projection. If you just see that thing from TEM3 table, it will just access this field, right? You can write easily the pi, no problem. Okay, but this is generalized projection. What does it mean? That when you are projecting in the record, any record, okay, any field, it can be an expression also. select clause যখন তুমি দেখো select column 1 column 2 column 3, sometimes you are writing select column 1 into column 3. That is basically nothing but expression. In when you are projecting, you can also write an expression. If you want to write an expression, then you should use the generalized projection sign. I'll cover that thing later on, okay? And this is that sign basically. And it is this one and pi is same when you are not using any expression. In this case, you can use the pi also because we are not using expression. That is the basically thing. So for simple thing, there is no difference. But if you really want to use the expression here, then you should use the generalized projection sign. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Then only 5 minutes. You please fill up the question 2. Okay. Next day we'll start from the next thing.